Thanks very much indeed, John. So just welcome Garry Connolly to the stage now, and Garry is the CEO for Host in Ireland and oversees the direction and promotion of industry-led and sponsored initiatives to further promote Ireland as an optimum location to host digital assets. And all wired up, getting there. So some quite interesting presentations, and I'm going to say thank you very much to those of you who are sending in questions. I'm just collating them all now for the Q&A session. Thank you very much indeed. Do feel free to give your company a plug, and we'll happily try and do the same. And over to you, Garry.
Thanks a million, Conor. As Conor said, I'm president and founder of Host in Ireland, which effectively is an initiative, co-opetition of competitors that have come together to promote Ireland as an optimal location to host digital assets. There's a few of them here today, I think CIX from Cork, and also our other partner from SunGard. So, data. There's no question about data is now a C-level issue. Depending on who you present it to, you're going to get this reaction. From a CEO as to get it sorted, to the guy down in the compliance office, or the chief security office, or the chief information office is, and I'm so far gone in my head and my team that there's not tools, services, or people that can solve the problem. And I think as the speakers were saying, there's so many people and there's such a deficiency of people in the world is that you're going to be hacked, right? You just want to know what you're going to do when you do get hacked and what your policies are to protect yourself. So Host in Ireland, what we're all about is globally going around the world and trying to engage with people to explain to them that Ireland for the hosting of the digital asset is way more than something to do with our weather, and way more than you have to be Microsoft, Google, or Amazon. You can be small, medium, or indeed, as it's evolving now, hybrid. So, data, as we all know, applications are taking over the world. I have a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they, to me, give me more insights and thought leadership than all of the panel up here today, or possibly all the people in the audience. Listen to the kids. What they accept as being the norms is what we couldn't have even hoped for when we came into this industry. Unfortunately for me, I came in the 80s, or fortunately for me, possibly, but their norms is coming down to this: the smart device, the smart home, the smart. And as you can see from this rolling demo, it's all going to the cloud, it's all going to be centralized, and that's the challenge for you guys. Keep it protected, right? So, what does a zettabyte, gigabyte, terabyte of data look like? I haven't got the first clue, nor do most people in the industry, but I do understand what a piece of rice looks like. We've been out doing a talk in the US last week, and they asked me why this wasn't a potato. But that's the plastic patty American thing, right? Everyone knows what a grain of rice is. And when people talk about grains of rice, imagine enough grains of rice to be able to fill the Pacific Ocean, which is every landmass on the planet put together will fill the Pacific. It's 3 miles deep in some aspects. So get all those grains of rice, you can fill it. And by the year 2020, they don't really know, we don't know, nobody really knows. There's going to be 22 zettabytes of that stuff filling the earth. So someone's going to have to protect it, someone's going to have to store it, and somebody's going to have to be accountable for it. What we try and do is we try and go around the world advertising Ireland, supporting the initiative to get as much of that agnostic data as possible. Not for the sake of just having it. Because data centers, as I even read here in some of the publications, it's not about the centers. It's about the data. It's about the ecosystem that data creates. And we're just back from Virginia last week, where they've grown, where 72% of the globe's internet goes through a corridor about the size of between Dublin and Athlone. And they've created 342,000 big data analyst jobs around the data. That's why data centers matter. The centers don't actually matter. You can make them manufacturing facilities. It's the data inside them that actually matters. So, there's 3 things you should never do, either in TV, radio, or doing a presentation. Work with kids, animals, and do a live link to the internet. And I'm going to break the third one right now. And who knows what's going to happen, but this is what happens in the internet every minute. But to me, it's not enough to visualize that. So I'm actually going to link now to a special portal that's been set up that in real time is going to tell you exactly how much data has been created by Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, etc. Just to visualize in your brain what exactly is going on in the world. So, this is where my whole presentation goes to shit. Right? It was okay for the first 5 minutes and 5 seconds. All right, good so far. I used to have a full head of hair since I started presenting. Here we go. This is a live feed into these platforms. You can see the numbers, the quantities, the data. You might say, ah yeah, but that's social media. Ah yeah, but that's out in the internet. Trust me, every one of your organizations, somewhere in your organization, there is somebody right now using Facebook, Dropbox, Box, you know, the shadow IT. There is somebody accessing this information. There's somebody using this information, and when the shit hits the fan, you're responsible. But this is the data you need to be aware of as well. To quantify that, right at the end here, you'll see how much. In the past 42, 3, 4 seconds, this amount of data has been created. That's 1,683,000 gigabits, and it just keeps going and going and going. To give some context on that, a grain of rice is one Microsoft Word file. This thing here has just done a full container, well, 13 full petrochemical transatlantic containers full of rice. And it's going, and it's going, and it's going, and it's created, and that's what you guys are responsible for. So, now that I've scared the shite out of you, I'm going to tell you why you should actually consider using some of these guys to manage the problem, to measure the problem, to understand it, and ultimately we'll come around to talk about Ireland, right? I'm going to come back to this as well, and by the end of my session, in exactly 19 minutes and 3 seconds, I will tell you, 15, thank you. I will tell you then how much data has been created. So, back to the presentation. Massive round of applause to Susan and Ronan for making that happen. I was asked recently on a panel, it went along like this, and it said, what keeps you up at night? And guys were talking about security breaches, the 62 million square foot of data center space that I was just thinking, and it just came out of my mouth, we've a new puppy, and that's what keeps me up at night. So I'm lucky, right? That's what's happening in an internet minute, and it matters. There was a time when I came into IT, when IT was just the domain of some geeky spotty dude that just came out of college to look after Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. What we're seeing in that internet minute, what we're seeing in these hosting centers is changing everything that you've ever known about industry. Whether you're pharmaceuticals, life sciences, whether you're in the service industry, whether you're in the pharmaceutical, I said that already, whether you're in the service, it's changing. These are the dudes that are actually taking over the world, and the two things they do better than anybody else, these companies, is they obsess about the end user. End user's number one, and they use data to its optimum. But it's changing every business, and the tools and services and data that's available for these dudes is going to wipe out pharmaceuticals as we know it. It's going to wipe out life sciences as we know it. Fintech, services, it's the same tools. Just these dudes don't have the legacy, therefore they can start from fresh. They know OPEX, no CAPEX, they go straight to OPEX, and they don't have 25,000 staff to keep happy. These are taking over the world, and companies like them. I used to have a great slide, and many of you might have seen me talk before. I used to have one about Ireland's rugby team. Can't use that anymore because we got hammered this year. And my second one used to be about Barcelona football team, and I can't use that anymore because they got dead. But this dude here, this is what reminds me of the Irish hosting data center industry. It's as if, it's like music, right? Every generation thinks they've invented music. So every time we hear data center hosting, you swear in Ireland that this had only started last week. Same as this dude. He practices harder than anybody. We started hosting connectivity before there was data centers. I'm going to show the age of some people in the audience, but maybe not too many. But how many people actually recognize that? Even if you do, it's okay. It's okay to put your hand up. That was a data center. Here you have a data center. When I came out of college in 1983, I was given an IBM XT. I was given 2 floppy disks. I was told, there's where your apps go and there's where your data goes. A data center. Think about it. You've got a smartphone that has your apps and you serve it up to the cloud. What's the difference? The only difference is the evolution of how we can generate, consume, and store data. So we've been doing this for forever. We think we've got a property crisis in Dublin. 1956, these dudes went and took the top floor of the Shelbourne Hotel because there wasn't such a thing as an office space. IBM, the first foreign direct investment, they put a mainframe with a cluster controller up the top and they call it Galileo. Happy days. There's been 5 waves of change, whether you want to admit it or not, where, oh, Jesus Christ. Something happened. That's that internet thing coming in on us. This is the Zinnity button. Turn off all the systems. Get the fuck out of here. There's been 5 waves of change in the IT industry. Where's the pointer thing?
That one there. Oh, that's the laser.
Mainframe, mini computer, right the way through back to mainframe. No, cloud computing, sorry. Freudian slip. But effectively, we're starting to see now where we're getting through the different phases where we PC standalone. We decided that a mainframe wasn't good enough. We decentralized with mini. Then we decided that that wasn't cost prohibitive enough, so we're going to distribute the data. Then we said, distributing the data, we better connect them all up again, and that's called a LAN. And now we said, no, let's go back to the first idea, which was centralization. If you want to understand the IT industry, get George Orwell's Animal Farm. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. The pigs then become the humans become the pigs. Just keeps going around in circles, same deal. But now I think cloud is here to stay. And for this generation, the wonderful thing is they now have the tools and the mechanisms, and also, most importantly, the OpEx models to be able to actually achieve their dreams and their goals. So, how have we been? Ireland and the waves. As I said earlier, and I gave a talk last week, 2 weeks ago in Trinity, and they couldn't actually get their head around the fact that I said that IBM used to be cool. It just was so alien to them. IBM? Wow, cool. Now, as I said earlier, about music. We have always in Ireland had, whether it's been hardware, software, mainframe, mini computer, local area network, the Google, the Etsy, the Dropbox of its day. So as you can see, there's a lot of detractors in Ireland and outside about foreign direct investment. There's no question that we've always been in a position to retain the companies. Believe it or not, digital research, digital equipment is now called HP. They didn't leave, they just changed. They got acquired or they morphed into somebody else. The most important aspect for this discussion is the top line. And there's probably even another one over here. We don't have a big enough screen called a punch card. But look at the evolution of the media. So all that's changed is how we consume, how we deliver, how we protect data. It's gone from a punch card right the way through to the cloud. So when somebody asks you in your organization, why has Ireland suddenly become this mega centre for centres, it's because we've always done it. There's just the difference is in 1984 to 5, 6, Microsoft used to get a floppy disk, bang it into a box with cellophane, put it into a Word, Excel file, and put it into a 40-foot container and send it to Duisburg. Now what we do is we put it into a data centre and we deliver it via photons. No different. The same fundamentals of Ireland's policy and pedigree is the same whether it was a floppy disk, a Blu-ray, or a data centre. Don't worry about the centres, it's all about the data. See? Even he knew. Question though is, how many people actually know what the pen is? The significance of the pen, the Darth Vader. Come on, it's okay to put your hand up. Yeah, there was no rewind on the old tape drives. See? If you can get your head around the fact that all the data center or hosting center does is it changes a medium from electrons to photons. That's effectively what it does. It takes loads of energy, converts it, stores it, and then it sends it out via fiber optic cable. So where you will find the optimum locations for hosting centers around the world is where electrons and photons collide. It's not rocket science. You'll hear engineers and you talk to all sorts of people who try and make it sound complicated, but the raw material for a data center is energy, the outputs are photons. And in the middle you've got servers and storage and racks and all this other stuff that Cisco and EMC make billions from. So, Ireland has always been in a position to demonstrate, since we started with transatlantic and off-island fibre cables, to have a collision in Dublin, and now what we're starting to see, and I'm glad to highlight one of our partners in Cork, Cork Internet Exchange, we're starting to see fibre coming into Cork, transatlantic fibre and off-island fibre, so that's a viable location now for the hosting of digital assets. But on such time as you've got an output and an input, it's the same as any raw material. You can't get raw materials in, you can't get raw materials out. So that's why Ireland has become an optimum place from a physical infrastructure point of view. Again, from our perspective, if you go to North America, you go to Canada, you go to around the world, all you'll think about Ireland for hosting is that the big guys on the right-hand side. The big, what they call hyperscales, only account currently for about 9% of the global's market. They're very important to us, but the big opportunity for all of people in this room are on the left-hand side. The smaller guys, the medium-sized guys. Think of these guys on the right like Carrefour or IKEA. They design, build, operate their own stores. But they are a small percentage of the global opportunity when you think of the concession stores, the smaller stores, the mama and papa stores. That's what all sits inside of these guys. And the wonderful thing about our ecosystem now, unparalleled in Europe, is that we're the only place that has all of these guys on the right, the hyperscales, and we're also the only place that has all the leading global co-location managed services guys. And you'll hear it, if you're in IT or you're in security, your biggest challenge over the next 5 to 10 is going to be hybrid cloud. Some of the stuff is going to be ours, some of the stuff is going to be co-located, some of the stuff is going to be out in another brand. Now, you think you've got security challenges and SLAs and all the rest? We've only started. The wonderful thing about what we're doing in Ireland is we've got them all. So therefore you don't even have to leave the island of Ireland to get connectivity. 95%, no surprise. 95% of all the foreign direct investment in Ireland is US. It's 1,300 companies, I think it's over 1,000, maybe not 95, but certainly 80% of all the content. Why do they come here? And this is the key. If there's anything you take away from this session this morning, for myself at least, is the power of the 5 Ps. As you know, Apple have put a small commitment to Athenry, and they also last year did the same for Viborg in Denmark. And I spoke before the dude in Viborg. I said the 5 Ps, policy, pedigree, people, power, pipes. He stood up, and in as bad in English as I speak, he said, we also have the 5 Ps, I just can't think of what they are at the moment. This is so unique. There is nowhere on the planet that has this blend of the 5 Ps, and in particular, the top one, policy. Be proud, be loud, and we're happy to have 12.5% corporation tax. Why not? Why are companies leaving North America? Because it's 37, 38, 39. Why has Scandinavia dropped all taxes associated with energy for data centers? Because they want to draw this stuff in. It's the catalyst. In a country that's only been given grass, rain, and people, we got to maximize the people element to be able to have a sustainable industry. And data centers is no different. The policy side of things is absolutely why hosting data centers, same as most FDI, they come for that, they stay then because we're approachable, we've people, and it doesn't help, or it doesn't do any harm that we've 41 million North Americans call themselves Irish and another 30 million around the world. So the people, the policy are the two things. The power, the pipes, and the pedigree we've spoken about. Power and pipes is something that they talk about in data centers. I spoke about it. Electrons, pipes, fiber, connectivity. Power, electrons, has to go in. It's like cement for this building. Who wants to talk about cement? You want to talk about everything but cement. Power and pipes are the... This woman here is Helen Dixon, the Commissioner for Data Protection in Ireland. She's had so much bad cred around the world. She's probably the most intelligent, most impressive speaker I've ever seen. She's probably the most articulate, and she certainly knows her role in the global stage. But she's probably the #1 Commissioner for Data Protection in the world, because Ireland has become the centre of this whole storm around data protection globally, safe harbour, privacy shield, and also harmonising. But she's driving. If you get a chance to have her speak at an event like this, she'll She'll have all of us in the palm of her hand. She's incredibly impressive. She has a very strong handle on what she needs to do, and she's prepared to go out and tell people about it. It is absolutely, and I don't expect you to read any of that, because I can't read any of that, but it's basically, this is the new harmonised data protection across Europe. The biggest challenge for data in Europe is the fact that you've got EU 28 data protection commissioners. Within Germany, you've got 18 data protection commissioners. In Germany, the Bavarians don't trust the Frankfurt people to store the data and all this type of stuff. This is becoming harmonised by 2018. It was written in last week by the ministers that there will be a harmonised data protection statutory publication in place by 2018. You don't comply, some of the stuff that you're going to have to pay is 4% of global revenues. The only way you hit corporations is in the pocket. Non-compliance. Privacy Shield is the replacement for Safe Harbour. Quite simply put, you can't put European personal data in North America. Until this gets implemented, or it's just about to be, a lot of the big hyperscales and others were actually storing data about you and I and others. And the dude from Facebook who challenged Facebook, he brought it to court and it fell apart. But now, fit for purpose, I think somebody mentioned earlier. We were working off a set of systems called Safe Harbour that was 2010, 2000. There wasn't even Facebook, there wasn't even these. So we're only just catching up, which is good to see, because you don't want policy dictating industry. Industry should always lead and policy should always come after it. Oh, that's just a slide about power. It's just drawn an analogy to actually, if Ireland, the best we've got is our weather, we're fucked with data centres, because we're all got that. The world, temperate climate, they've got that out in lots of places, so I don't know what the gig is. Please use it as part of the blend, but trust me, our climate isn't the biggie for why data is in Ireland. The big opportunity, and I have a big zero here, so I'm just going to wrap up. This is some of the companies that your industries are in, or companies are in. This is the opportunity. Only 20% of the 1,300 companies that call Ireland home for foreign direct investment have any data here. The two most common things that we hear when we talk to them is, oh, that's somebody else's issue. Or, I thought Ireland was only good if you're Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. Bring the data. Champion yourselves to put your hand up and go back to your corporations and say, where are we hosting our data for Europe? Data, if data is the new oil, talk about the oil, not the barrels. And that's what, say, in Ireland is a great place for data centres is, we build nice barrels. The magic's in the data. If you really want your organisation to grow forward, all key decisions will be made about where the data is domiciled. And that's the opportunity. And always remember this. Stress test every policy and every procedure you have, because it all changes when someone gives you a punch in the nose. As Target found out. They were running for the hills. Thank you.